Give me the power, I beg of you. To whoever's going to watch this video, I'm going to explain the philosophy of the ascetic path and how it leads to the destruction of the three lower fetters, most notably personality view, and then the effectiveness of rites and rituals and doubt in the Buddhist teaching. We have to start by citing the 12 links of dependent origination, and we're going to focus on the first 4 links in particular. Now, the first link is ignorance, and concomitant with ignorance, there is actually the arising of guilt. The Buddha says that one who lays down a body and takes up another body is blameworthy. And Christians talk about the notion of original sin. We don't have to necessarily go that far. Suffice to say, it's been going on since time immemorial. And so at the first link in the 12 links, there is ignorance, but concomitant with ignorance is a feeling of guilt. And guilt produces denial. And to deal with guilt and denial, there arises link number 2, which is the will. Now, the will actually arises because we are trying to escape our guilt. So, at link number 2, we have the arising of the will. Now, the will, it spontaneously arises. It just emerges without any other explanation other than to deal with our guilt. So when we begin to fail trying to escape this guilt, that is when the third link arises, which is consciousness. We become conscious of our failure to escape. And then at link 4, we have name and form, or perception. We begin to perceive. We perceive objects in order to try to find something that will help us to escape. So that is the rundown on the first 4 links. Okay, so it's important to understand that there is a feeling of guilt, and everybody suffers from it, and it arises at the first link, which is ignorance. Now, what we must do is, and this is where we're going to get into the ascetic path, we need to put a stop to our momentum, is what we need to do. So, putting a stop to momentum, this is going to be when we take everything off of the walls and we stop pursuing sensual pleasures. And in this wise, we are going to build up a neurological motivation. Because when we perceive things, when we perceive objects, there is a darting feeling in the nervous system. And you perceive something. So you go into a room looking for a pen. And when you lay eyes on the pen, there is a darting feeling in the nervous system which signals to you that that's what you're looking for. So what we need to do is we need to put a stop to our momentum. We need to build up this darting feeling in the nervous system so that it creates a surplus of power. Now, when we develop this surplus of power, we begin to invert our will and go into our minds, we begin to manifest our will in our thoughts. That power builds up, and through the ascetic path, we begin to see a meditative sign that is called darkness. It's referred to in the Tao Te Ching as the doorway to all phenomena is darkness, darkness upon darkness. And when we take this neurological motivation, this power, and we invert it to within ourselves, this is what allows for the destruction of the personality view. Because when we put a stop to our momentum, it naturally inverts and results in the destruction of certain parts of our minds, in this case, the personality view. Now, it can also happen that through this power, we carry out what I call transcendental operations. And these transcendental operations can actually change the world around us, causing us to experience what I call eliminative retribution. And this is how we reach the destruction of the three lower fetters. But of course, amidst all of this, practicing asceticism, there is a reference to being in different places at different times. Through conviction, we figure out what our rights truly are as human beings as we practice the ascetic path. And by following our conviction, we end up in different places at different times. So if you stand at the urinal for just 2 seconds longer, you're in a different world. And when you pursue sensual pleasures, you follow a certain momentum that puts you in different worlds at different times. So what we need to do is we need to reverse that process, and we need to find ourselves in certain states of affairs that we would not ordinarily be in if we were not practicing the ascetic path and following our convictions. And when we are mindful in those situations, that is when we experience the consciousness coming forth. So as Christ said, bring forth that which is within you, and it will save you. So when we follow our convictions and we carry out various actions which are different after we put a stop to our momentum, and we find ourselves in different worlds at different times, that is when we are going to be called before men to give an account of ourselves on behalf of our conviction. And so, linking to another video as to why consciousness is hell, we have to bring forth the consciousness and be mindful in various states of affairs through the ascetic path in order to satisfy right action. And so when we reverse the momentum of pursuing sensual pleasures, it inverts, and the fire element destroys the personality.